Merry meet. My name is Crow Moon, and I'm a Wiccan priest. Halloween, as we know it today, has its roots in the pagan celebration of Samhain, which is a time when the veil between our world and the spirit realm is at its thinnest. It is a time when those who have crossed over can communicate with us more easily. Spirits do not have to wait until Halloween to interact with us, however, as ghost stories and tales of the paranormal abound at all times of the year. Still, Halloween amplifies a fascination with the otherworldly for many, making hearing these stories at autumn even more exciting. The following ghost stories were sent to me that I may share them with you. All of them involved the supernatural, and all of them are real. House guests from Emerald. I've lived in a two-story for the past 3 years, and ever since I've moved in, it's had its spots of weird feels. There's a big shadow that watches me sleep or walks the foot of my bed. I hear kids laughing or running around. I've heard 3 knocks on the walls. I feel like I'm being watched a lot. My youngest son talks and plays with one. One day, while I was saging my house, my youngest son cried, telling me to stop, that I was hurting his friends. I brought in a paranormal investigation crew, and wow, the things they picked up were crazy. A man in my room is very possessive of me and hates my husband. There's 2 other males he talks to and tells them to push my husband down the stairs as he walks down them. These conversations were heard over a spirit box. They did not answer hardly any questions we asked, and were very vulgar, aggressive spirits. There was a little boy in my son's room who kept calling me Mommy, so I'm assuming that's the kid I hear when no one is at home, and the one he plays with. In my son's room, they found a portal, or a window, with the cameras, which is how they come to and from. We asked the males why they were here, and they said to protect. We asked what I needed protection from, and one said, "Rebels are righteous," and then continued harassing my husband. I saged the house, and on the spirit box we heard, "Run, she's saging." The spirits even made the motion sensor alarm go off a few times while the team was here. A couple weeks later, we had an angel medium come out to our house to see if he could get rid of the aggressive spirits. Upon arrival, he said he felt a very dark energy entering our home. He said the male spirit was not leaving, and he couldn't get him to because he wants to protect me. He pointed out all the spots the spirit likes to watch me from, and they were right. The medium blessed, sealed my mirrors, doors, windows, and was on his way. The angel medium had a hard time breathing in my home. During the time the angel medium was in my house, I felt my energy draining, and I was tired. My husband noticed something was wrong with me. A few hours later, the shadow man was back in my room, and my energy was back. So now, we coexist with these spirits, and do not entertain them or talk to them anymore. I see and hear them very often. I sage my room before going to bed, and I can hear him pacing in the hallway to my room. My dog sits guard next to me all the time, growling at nothing. Well, nothing that I can see, but I know she can. The NOLA notification from Caitlin. For our honeymoon, my husband and I went on a 3-month-long cross-country trip in our Jeep. We were both teachers and had the summer off. We went from Los Angeles up to Montana, across to South Dakota, south to Louisiana, and back west. He had never been to New Orleans, but it's one of my favorite cities. I love the weight the city has, from so many lives passing through, and the veil just feels thinner. I booked a haunted hotel for us to stay 2 nights, and left our days open. New Orleans kept coming up on the drive over. We met people from NOLA and other states that would be back soon. We saw episodes of Bar Rescue featuring NOLA bars. Our crystal guy gave us crystals to keep spirits from hitching home with us. And we found out friends would be in the city the same nights we were there. Our hotel didn't have parking, so we had to pay to park at a bigger hotel on the other side of the French Quarter. The first night there, we made friends with a couple who owned a Chinese restaurant. They were saving up to get married and buy a house. We also went to the bar we saw on Bar Rescue and met up with friends who had flown out. My husband is extremely charismatic and also made friends with every shop owner and local we met. At this point, I should mention that my husband didn't believe in ghosts. He supports my witchiness and will listen to my stories, but he wasn't a believer. I'm open to anything, but hadn't any concrete ghost experiences myself. The second day there, we spent the day with friends on Bourbon Street. If you haven't been before, a day on Bourbon Street is a day of day drinking. We went to our hotel a few times during the day, and each time, the couple in the room next to us were fighting so much, locking each other out, throwing things, screaming. It was bad. My husband ended up befriending a bartender at the end of the day. The bartender invited us to stay after closing and hang out with him and his friends. We had so much fun, we stayed until 3 a.m.-ish before walking the 5 blocks home. I had stopped drinking hours ago, but my husband hadn't. We were only a block into our walk back when he started acting weird. He looked upset and slightly paranoid, looking around frantically. He started pulling me towards him, telling me not to walk so close to others. But no one else was out. It was just us on the empty streets. Suddenly he started crying and reaching out to people that weren't there. "We need to help them. Don't you see them? We need to help them." He kept repeating it over and over. Then he motioned like he was lifting people up or scooping water and tossing it away. "The water is too much," he called out. I assumed he had drank too much and was worried of people hearing him yelling, so I kept pushing him towards our hotel. But he was so upset. By the time we made it back, he was sobbing. "They lose everything. They've been saving, and they lose everything," he said, as I tried pushing him up the stairs to our room. Once in our room, I drew a bath trying to calm him down, but he was still so upset. Something or someone was telling him to go get our Jeep, that our friends should fly home, etc. He finally calmed down and eventually fell asleep. Right before, he calmly said, "I'm glad she left him." None of it made sense to me, so again I wrote it off as he had too much to drink. A few hours later, the hotel staff woke us up. The city was flooding. It was July 2019. We packed up as quickly as we could and checked out. The man in the room next to us was checking out as well, alone. His girlfriend had apparently left the night before. We rushed across the quarter to the hotel where our Jeep was. Water was already rushing into the parking lot. If we had shown up an hour later, we wouldn't have been able to drive out of the city. On our way out, our friends told us that they had barely made it to the airport. The couple saving up to get married and buy a house, the water destroyed their restaurant. We made it to San Antonio that night and watched the coverage of the flood on the news. The people crying for help were the same my husband had seen the night before while walking home at 3 a.m. We're still not sure what he saw while walking home, but we recommend being open to the other side reaching out while walking through New Orleans between 3 and 4 a.m. Deutschland Doll from Crow Moon. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to come face to face with a haunted doll. The doll is said to be haunted by the spirit of a girl who lived in Germany. So angry is the spirit that it has actually rendered physical harm to some people who look into the doll's eyes. Many have reported shortness of breath and chest squeezes. A few have suffered heart attacks. I was warned of these things before my visit. A group of us were taken into the room where the doll is kept. My wife and several members of the group chose not to enter the room, but instead looked in through the open door. There was a spirit box by the doll, and the host invited us to ask the doll questions if we wanted to. I wasn't afraid of the doll, but I had a very healthy respect for the energy coming from her. Several people spoke to the doll, but there was no answer. Being the only person in the group who spoke the spirit's native language, I decided to speak to her in German. I asked, "Is everything okay? What's wrong? Are you sad?" Immediately after I asked the third question, the spirit shouted a curse word at me. It was surreal, sinister, and beyond disturbing. Everyone was astounded. Some even shrieked and left the room. My wife was glad she hadn't gone inside because she heard the shout very clearly from outside the room and became visibly shaken. To this day, I still get chills each time I think about it. Family celebration from AK. In very loving memory of my mother, father, and sister. My first ghostly experience was when I was about 8 years old. We were setting the table for a very special holiday dinner for family and friends. My mother loved to make a beautiful, inviting, festive table for celebrations. She brought out all of our very special heirloom pieces of tableware, all special items used throughout generations of our family to celebrate together. There was gold leaf china, linen napkins, a beautiful hand-sewn linen and lace-infused tablecloth, silver flatware and candlestick holders, and lovely, delicate, pink-tinged and etched long-stem crystal glasses from my great-grandmother on my mother's side, comprised of a large size and a small size, to be paired at each setting. I was so eager to help with making the beautiful table. I would go to the kitchen, and my mother would hand me one precious piece for the table at a time. With each, I knew to be very mindful and careful, as I delivered them one by one with care to the long table in the dining room. Slowly and surely, I placed each item with loving care and attention. Guests would be arriving soon, and the energy of the house started to pick up. In the haste of being ready to greet arriving guests, my mother handed me the 2 last pieces to be set, 2 pink-tinged, delicate crystal glasses. I hurriedly scuffled off to the table and quickly set the glasses down at the last setting. But I did so in such a rush that one of the glasses teetered and clinked into the glass next to it, and I quickly sprang to catch the falling glass successfully, only to have them clink once again and ring out in a sweet crystal tone. Just then, a loud pang sounded from the den in the next room. In this room, we had a wall completely populated with pictures of all of the branches of our family, reaching back multiple generations, back to the old country. I heard the loud bang, as well as my father in the other room did, and we both rushed to the den to see what the strange, loud noise was. We entered to find a framed, glass-encased picture of my great-great-grandmother had popped off the wall and landed squarely in the middle of the den floor, completely unscathed, and none of the other pictures on the wall around where it had been had moved an inch. After carefully hanging the picture back on the wall, my father and I rushed to the kitchen to tell my mother and sister what had happened. My mother turned to me and said with a smile, "Great-great-grandmother heard you clang her delicate crystal glasses, and it was a warning to be more careful." We all most certainly agreed and smiled, knowing the company of our beloved ancestors were present and joining in the special celebration that night together with us.